Think you need a pile of cash to start investing in real estate? Think again. You can start with little or no money. Here's how in today's video. We're going to basically in this video share you some practical, proven ways to become a real estate investor without breaking the bank. And let's start off first with the myth of needing money to start in real estate investing. So first thing I want to debunk is just some misconceptions out there. One is, many successful investors started with little or no money. It's about strategy and not resources. And essentially you want to focus on leveraging other people's money, skills, assets to get started. So that's, I'll share my personal story real quick, right? I started with a multifamily property, didn't have much money, just mustered up enough down to do a 3% down FHA loan in my 20s. And I had a cash flowing produced asset. So it was just a few $1,000s to get started. So again, little money there as one example. Paul, you probably have a similar example too, getting started in real estate, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. That is the best way. That's the classic way you did. And that's the way I'd recommend anybody to get started. If you can get a multi-unit building, I think you had a duplex, right? Whether it's a duplex, triplex, or quadruplex, you're essentially having that other person pay your mortgage for you while you live there. And eventually you moved out. So then it became even more cash flowing and you kept it for a period of time and went up in value and you sold it, near the peak of the market. So, that is absolutely perfect. So when I first got in with my first house as well, bought it with, again, one of those low money down ones. It was a 90%, 10% down deal. And actually 5% down, renovated a property, put a bunch into it, then pulled a home equity line of credit, paid everything off with the home equity line of credit. And that home equity line of credit also gave me enough money to go start financing and buying more real estate with it. So there's a million ways to skin a cat for sure.
Yeah. So those are our personal stories. Now we'll kind of cover the strategies to start investing with little to no money in real estate. And Paul, the first one we'll cover is wholesaling. It's something both you and I have done in the past. And there's two ways to do wholesaling. One is the one that's more trading contracts, and the other one is actually buying, owning the property for a few days or a few weeks and then reselling it. So what you want to do there is just find undervalued properties, get it under contract, and then you could flip that contract to a real estate investor willing to pay cash. And you basically make the difference between what you got under contract for and what someone's willing to pay for that contract. In the past, when early in my real estate days, I've done this on areas of Philadelphia, and you make anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 on trading paper, call it essentially a contract, assigning it. It's people promote no upfront costs, but if you really want to be successful at it, you got to spend tens of thousands of dollars a month in marketing. But yeah, the ways I got into it is just cold calling, door knocking, handing out flyers, stuff like that. So it can work. It's just more time and hustle and kind of picking up the phones versus the marketing machine that you need to really operate a wholesaling business. Paul, you want to cover the next strategy?
Yeah, so I want to add to that a little bit too. So
Sure.
bird dogging, which was a big term back in early 2000s, right?
I remember that one. Yeah, that was huge. Yeah.
It was huge. And you don't hear much of it anymore. It's a shame.
No.
I think it's the best way to get in. What a bird dog essentially does is they're kind of working for a full-time real estate investor. They're driving for dollars. They're looking for deals. They're talking to other wholesalers. They're talking to other investors out there. But mostly they're driving for dollars around the neighborhood, trying to find properties that have lawns that are overgrown, that house looks like it needs work, that have issues, or, the city has city violations on it, these kind of things. I think that is a great way to get started. And that literally takes no money, just some gas money for you to drive around or walk around or bike around wherever you're getting started. And you can do that locally, right? So that's probably the easiest way to get in. We got in a little differently, Mike, too, as well. The way I got in was always through bank-owned properties, right? You door knock at first. I door knock pre-foreclosures. Another great way to do it, right?
Yeah.
And you'll get all kinds of reactions from people doing that. You probably done that too, Mike. You get some crazy reactions from people there, but you get some good reactions. Helped some people with short sales back in the day when short sales were a thing. But another great resource, buying bank-owned properties, which I did, HUD, that takes a little more resource. That's where you partner with people, right?
And then so when you do find a deal, right, and you don't have the money, so you can't assign a contract, especially like an REO property, another way to do it is partner with investors. And how that works is essentially partner with someone who has the money or capital but lacks time or expertise, and you present the deal, go to a local real estate investor group like a RIA, Real Estate Investor Association, and there's money people and there's deal people, and you find a money partner, and you can structure it as debt or equity. We got plenty of videos on our channel that cover private lending, so feel free to check them out. and you could kind of promote the deal that you found. You just say, hey, I'm looking for someone to fund this. And it could be just a joint venture on the one deal where you split 50-50 to profits or whatever percentage that makes sense. Or they could be basically like a bank on the deal where they pay maybe some points and interest, and they'll fund your deal for you, though. So that's another example when finding a deal and you can't assign the contract.
I think that's like the greatest way to get into. Let's use a mutual friend of ours. You and I both know Joe Robert. So Joe was buying wholesale deals that I was selling to him. These were bank-owned deals I was flipping to him. He had a money partner. His money partner was 25% of the net profit. Joe handled finding the property, rehabbing the property, managing it, and then selling it, and then would pay 25% out to his money partner. His money partner then decided he wanted more. He wanted 35%. And Joe's like, nope, we're not doing this. Joe went out and find new lenders and new private lenders, right? People that would just take a percentage of the return instead. So as you elevate your game and prove yourself, you can actually do much, much better with this, where you're paying less in interest than your typical first newbie is, right?
Yeah,
So
as your experience increases, your cost of capital should go down, really, right? Whether it's a percentage rate or interest rate, because you have a proven track record that you know how to evaluate deals and make money long term in real estate.
the more proven you are, the easier it is, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then another way to do it too is, especially if you take out the banks, this is not a bad example for bank-owned properties, but if you're going direct to seller, or even through an agent, sometimes the seller, it doesn't happen a lot, but it's a promotion tool that people use is using seller financing, where the seller essentially acts as the lender, allowing you to pay installments rather than upfront cash. Let's use an example, right? Maybe you found a property, townhome that someone's willing to sell for 150. You might put 1,000 down and kind of say like, hey, I'll pay you monthly payments over time while I renovate and resell, and then when I sell it, you get I'll pay you back the rest, basically. I've done that a few on flips. I know some people try to do that with a rental, but the challenge I see there is the longer you have to pay back the money, the less likely the buyer, or the seller, I should say, would accept that seller financing. But on short-term flips, I've used that a lot in the past, where the seller is willing to kind of like hold the note essentially while I renovate and then resell.
And that is becoming more and more common right now, because if you think about it, with these really low interest rates that we had a few years ago, it is very enticing for investors. They're picking up notes that are 2.5%, 3.5%, 4.5% interest on them. So you could do really well with those short term, right? While you're fixing it to flip it, if you're going to do that. Or if you do want to get it under contract and put it in your name and transfer it, you can offer the seller a deed in lieu should you fall behind. You can make things very simple for both parties, that if something goes bad, it goes back to the seller, but it allows you to control a property. There's a lot of people out there doing it right now where they're getting them under contract. I'm seeing wholesalers sending it to me with seller financing in place, locking everything in that way. So you can wholesale these deals too, another way to get in. But seller financing is going to be a powerful tool moving forward, I think.
Yeah. Another like ultra creative way is kind of like lease options or rent to own, where, someone might be selling a house. You could, them essentially with the option, you could sell it to them essentially as a renter with the option to buy later. So you might be able to collect some money up front from them and then lease it out to them. So covering your holding costs essentially. And then from there, 3 years from now, the tenant has the option to buy it out. But I don't think the track record's too high on them. That was an option I was never a huge fan of, just because it's just too many unknowns. But that's another way to do it as well.
I would agree. I've done a couple of those in my life, but there's a lot of times these things just fall through and these deals fall apart. So they are much higher risky things to do, but it is another way to get in there as well.
Yeah. And lastly, I'll end too is partner with hard money lenders. Originally, we talked about money partners as from an individual personal level perspective, going to like a local real estate investment group. But there's professional companies out there that are hard money lenders where, they don't lend on long-term mortgages. They basically lend on short-term, basically 12 months loans to investors to fund their buy, renovate, resell project, and then or refi out if you want to keep it as a rental, where, this company will give you 100% of the money plus rehab. You're going to pay a lot higher interest rates and points up front. But then as you renovate the property, you could get longer term financing on it. And you could keep it as a rental or just sell it as a flip and pay back the hard money lender. And starting out, it actually doesn't hurt using a hard money lender, because your underwriting is not always great, probably from a understanding the deal perspective. Whereas if the hard money lender's not going to lend to you, that means it's not a deal probably. So that's just something else to consider there. It costs more, but it's a good someone overlooking your shoulders essentially to make sure it is really a deal.
It's almost like another insurance policy, right? Make sure you're getting into the right deal. It's just another check. It's super important that, if your numbers make sense and it makes sense to a hard money lender, then you're in for a good deal.
Yeah. So let's go to the next kind of question. How do we build, how does an investor with little or no money down up front, starting out, build credibility without capital? First, I recommend just educating yourself, right? There's plenty of books, channels like ours on, you call it YouTube University, free education here that you get, watching videos, attending different seminars and webinars out there, going to meetups, just building knowledge through people and understanding. And that's where you can figure out what type of strategy you want to start out with, because there's a million different ways to make money in real estate. It's just like, you can't start out with them all. Pick one or two to really narrow in your focus on. And another thing to do is also network strategically, talk to agents, contractors, mentors, local meetups, etc. And then you want to demonstrate some type of value. You might not have the money up front, but educate yourself. And then what skills do you bring to the table, such as market research, negotiating deals, and bringing deals to the table, so you can attract the money partners, essentially. Anything I missed there on building credibility without money, Paul?
It's huge. It's the hustle, right? So whether you go into a meetup or go into a RIA, it's meeting up with different people there, showing that you're hustling, showing that you're interested, and offering some kind of resource to somebody else. Because there's a lot of people at these RIA or meetup groups that have full-time jobs and can't do real estate full-time. They can do it part-time. But maybe you could spend more time finding these deals, helping find these deals, and they can help on the financing side. And then you become a partnership. That's how most partnerships do come together. So it's just a side hustle. It's a hustling thing. The more you work, the more you're going to reap your rewards.
And someone's going to see your work effort too. Yeah.
Agreed.
All right. So let's talk about some common challenges and how to overcome them. One of the challenges is just finding trustworthy money partners, right? How do you vet them out? Got to build relationships, talk to them, ask others that might have used them as a money partner, see if they actually truly deliver. You're also going to have limited knowledge of starting out. So start small and focus something that you can understand and do continuous learning on that one thing, and don't start to jump around to multiple different things. And then, lastly, it's fear of rejection, right? You're going to get a lot of no's along the way, whether it's finding a deal and a homeowner or a bank not accepting your offer. And it's just part of the journey until you find those yeses, whether from a deal making side or a private lender side. Just don't quit. Persistency is key to business and life. And just when you get knocked down, get back up again and keep trying, try something different, and then learn from those no's and rejections and pivot and go forward.
Just gonna make you stronger, better as an investor. You're gonna learn what works and what doesn't work, right? Which strategies work best for you? What makes the most sense for you? Some people just want to become wholesalers. Some people want to become fix and flippers. So like Mike said, focus on what you want to do. Don't be looking at it be a jack of all trades and a master of nothing. Focus on what you do best and what you can manage best and go from there.
Exactly. And then last section here we'll talk about is kind of just long-term tips for success. First, you want to reinvest your earnings. You want to use those profits to grow your portfolio over time. Just don't spend all the money as you kind of get due on your first deal. Treat yourself a little bit, but you reinvest in yourself. You want to diversify your strategies. So as you gain experience, explore other investment types like rentals or commercial properties. Now you could kind of, we talked about earlier, you focus on one or two things to start. Now you can kind of go through all the different levers in the toolbox and then other ways to make money. And then stay persistent. Again, we've kind of talked about this a little bit throughout is, starting with low money is tough, but with grit and determination, you can achieve amazing results in real estate. So just to wrap up here, from wholesaling to partnerships, there's different ways to start in real estate investing with no or to little no money. And you just got to have the right mindset and strategies and grit. And, if you don't need the wealth to start, just be creative and persistent, and your first deal is going to be closer than you think. So, if you got some info out of it, you got some good info out of this video, smash the like button, feel free to share with someone else and subscribe. And if you got any questions specifically, getting started in real estate investing, drop them in the comment section below. Happy to reply to your response or we'll create a new video if it's something we don't have a topic on already.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you in the next video.